Hello, this is Erick Widman from Passage Immigration Law. We're doing a live immigration Q&A session once again. We do these Wednesday afternoons Pacific time, and we've got several great questions. The first immigration question is, what is the Uniting for Ukraine program and how can it benefit me? So this has been a rare success story for the U.S. Immigration Service. The U.S. Immigration Service in general is poorly managed, getting bad results, confusing, frustrating results for many people using the system. It is funded by applicants, by the way. That often adds insult to injury. But the Uniting for Ukraine program has shown that the US government, if they put the effort into rolling out a tech-savvy program that can get processed quickly online, if they want to do that, they can. So there's interesting political questions about that. Why haven't they done that for our Afghan allies, for example? But clearly our Ukrainian friends have had a huge need. It's unacceptable what's happened over there with Russia. And so we're opening the door to Ukrainians who want to come to the United States if they meet certain criteria. So the criteria involve a declaration of support from a supporter. It could be a family member. It doesn't have to be a family member. It's on form I-134, your declaration of support. In the past, this was known as an affidavit of support that fiance visa applicants have to have filled out for them. But this form I-134 can be submitted online. And a friend of mine, she completed this for a Ukrainian friend of hers, and it was processed in 3 days most recently. So attorneys are not doing this right now, but we can help with the process as needed. And the process, thankfully, with that first key step has been going quite well. And the government will then, after approving the form I-134, take steps to enable the Ukrainian applicant, and family members need to file their own additional I-134. They will then be paroled into the United States and allowed to apply for work authorization, which makes sense. And the stars have really aligned for Ukrainians and the US labor market to benefit, because the Ukrainians can apply on form I-765 EAD work authorization application, get result back, hopefully not too long of a delay. We've heard mixed reports about that. Then they're work authorized and can stay. The initial period is for 2 years and can work during that time. What we've seen with other programs like temporary protected status, TPS, is that the US is not going to be kicking people out early on if the war is not resolved. And sadly, the Russians seem to be sticking around and not going away. It's horrific. So the initial 2-year period will likely be extended, is what many experts are saying. And it's based upon the horrible continuation of the war. So work authorization for Ukrainians, this is a great gift. And unlike TPS, you have to be outside the United States to apply for this Uniting for Ukraine program. So it is a great opportunity for Ukrainians and their family members to come to the US, and the opportunity for US businesses is huge too, because we need your help over here. There are many unfilled job openings. Our clients are hungering for workers. So it is finally the case that we're aligning both an international need with a local need, and we could really benefit lots of Ukrainians and US businesses with this approach. Next question. So question number 2, I've been interviewed for my N336 naturalization appeal. That's what that is. Back in May 2022, and it's been over 4 months. How long does it usually take to get the results on that? So for our clients in a couple different states, we've all gotten results back prior to a 4-month period. So there is I looked at this earlier and didn't see a specific statutory requirement, unlike the 180 days where they have to set up the hearing, or 120 days to get your naturalization interview results back. That's mandated. I didn't see a specific required time they have to reply back, but there's a reasonableness standard. And that's the heart of a mandamus lawsuit. You can mandate action by the government if there's been an unreasonable delay. So this is way too premature to file a lawsuit, but that's ultimately what you could do with a mandamus suit if they still haven't gotten back to you after a long period of time. Definitely, if it's been a year, you should file a mandamus suit, for example. But prior to that, because a lawsuit in federal court is expensive and not the best instrument, you should be following up with USCIS. You could get your senator, congressional rep involved. Law firms can follow up in your behalf, and you could basically shake loose from the tree, from the bureaucratic tree, the results of your appeal. Final question for today. What is the best and fastest way to get my aunt here? She raised me and I'd love to get her help taking care of my newborn. Okay. And you also noted she is not an immediate family member. That's right. So the U.S. immigration system does not have many pathways that are efficient for non-immediate family members. Immediate family members are parents or spouses or children of U.S. citizens. So your aunt is not an immediate relative. Therefore, there's also not, according to the visa bulletin and the various preference category options, you cannot petition for an aunt or uncle. So I think you knew that already, but let's look at some two-step options. It's kind of like a connecting flight in some ways. You can't go directly there nonstop. You could, for example, have, depending on if your parents are around and if you could get a green card and then citizenship for your parents, that would be a long process. But a U.S. citizen can petition for a sibling. So, and that is a very long process. So you're looking at a unrealistic, frustrating amount of time, 20 plus years if you had to take those two steps. Parents get citizenship and then they petition for your aunt or uncle, their sibling. So that's dissatisfying. But many people do that as a retirement plan, as a backup plan, because filing the form I-130 is actually not that expensive, not as much work, and it's a good insurance policy that, well, sibling, 15, 20 years from now, you could join me in the US if you'd like. Some other options, we'd have to look at the three main categories of immigration, which are family, which we took a look at that. And if there is a spouse involved or a fiance involved for your aunt, sometimes people meet someone else online and a U.S. citizen petitions for a fiance visa, for example. So there's a few other family categories, depending if your aunt is single or not. There's a humanitarian category. So if your aunt is eligible for asylum and is seeking asylum based upon a legitimate type of persecution she's sadly experienced, she could seek asylum in the U.S. or TPS, temporary protected status, if that makes sense, and she's able to arrive here in the U.S. Or like we just spoke about, Uniting for Ukraine, or other categories of humanitarian, a U visa for victims, survivors of a crime. Finally, there's a business category, and this might be the most viable category of all, depending on what your aunt does for a living. She could, many people come in as students, pick up another degree. It's expensive, it's prohibitive, but some people do it and they pursue a F1 student visa or J1 visa. There's also, if she has not had a chance to get a good education yet, she could get sponsored by an employer and come in on a seasonal basis, like a H-2B visa or a possible green card if an employer wants to hire her and go through the green card process and basically sponsor her through that whole I-140 and perm and other steps. It all depends on your aunt's unique background and what she would qualify for. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to end it right here, and we'll see you next week. Take care.